Well, for more analysis on the United States' relationship with Japan, China, and Asia more broadly, we're joined from New York by Anthony Chan. He's Managing Director and Chief Economist with Chase. Good to see you, Anthony.
Great to be here.
Now, let's start with the phone call between President Xi and President Trump. We know that with the White House readout of the call, they were saying that Trump said he will honor the One China policy. What's the economic importance of all this?
I think the economic importance is quite obvious, and that is we have a huge trade deficit with China, almost $370 billion. And so the importance of that and the fact that we export more than $115 billion of products to China show that maintaining a strong relationship with China is crucial. And I think that the president understands that. And the president understands that a one China policy is important to China. So if you want to maintain a healthy relationship, it has to be a give and take relationship. And I think the president made the right decision.
Now, Anthony, some people are wondering about the timing of this call, as it took place just hours before Japan's Prime Minister's Abe's visit. So should we read anything into that?
Well, clearly Japan is also an important trading partner. In fact, if you look at the trade deficit of Japan with the United States, it comes in third right after Germany. So it's certainly up there. And so what this president has done is to try to focus on those countries where we have an important or large trading relationship. And those countries, of course, include China. They include Japan, Germany, Mexico. These are important countries. Now, Canada is part of the NAFTA agreement, but when you look at the trade deficit that we have with Canada, it's somewhat below $20 billion. So on a relative basis, it's not as large. So this president is focusing on those countries that we have a huge trade deficit with or a large trading relationship with.
Now, we know that Abe is going to be spending several days with Trump. It's very early still in his administration. How significant is that?
Well, I think it is significant. And you can see that there is give and take on both sides with Abe coming to the United States and saying that we will be creating jobs in this country. That's something that everybody knows is music to the president's ears. So anytime a foreign leader or a company offers this president the opportunity to create jobs in the United States, I think the president will be listening. He ran, after all, on a platform of creating jobs and said he was going to be literally a job creation president. So that's obviously very important to the president, and I think leaders around the world are certainly hearing that message and reacting to it.
Now, as you mentioned, Abe is bringing this infrastructure package with him, including high-speed rail between D.C. and New York. And he also has a plan to create more U.S. jobs. How do you see that playing out, though, in terms of the regional impact of Asia?
Well, I think that it certainly raises awareness that any country that wants to have a healthy relationship with the United States has to be willing to make investments here in the United States. And usually those kinds of investments involve the creation of jobs. You might recall when Alibaba, Jack Ma came and spoke with the president, one of the things that was mentioned right off the bat was that the involvement of Alibaba would create jobs in the United States, and all of a sudden that relationship warmed. So I think that any of these countries that may have been singled out at any point in the past, if all of a sudden the message changes from one of confrontation towards one of creating jobs in the United States, you're going to see a warmer relationship. And I think that the Japanese understand that message quite well.
Now, let's look at that dynamic. We know that Abe was a big proponent of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Now, that's a trade deal that Trump pulled the U.S. out of and that China wasn't included in. So what sort of potential do you see for economic and trade cooperation between all three countries?
Well, I think that it's very clear that this president has a proclivity towards bilateral trade relationships. So I think that if you read the tea leaves, President Trump will try very hard to establish strong relationship and strong trade deals on a bilateral basis. That means a trade agreement between China and the United States, a trade agreement between China and Japan, and we should not be surprised if eventually we'll also get one with Mexico. That sort of improves, according to the president's criteria, that relationship that existed prior to this administration visiting or in fact residing in Washington, D.C.
And just quickly, Anthony, in terms of the relationship, any potential challenges that you see coming up?
Well, I think the relationship challenges are obvious, and that is that remember that we had the TPP and there was a lot of investments from many countries, and obviously there's got to be some disappointment there. But as Abe, the Prime Minister, has said, you have to sort of move on, and if the President of the United States is not interested in TPP, then we have to look at other things. It obviously creates great opportunities for China because now China will be able to have a stronger relationship perhaps with those countries that were originally involved in the TPP that excluded China. Now all of a sudden China becomes potentially an important player in that framework.
A changing picture indeed. We'll have to leave it there. Our thanks to Anthony Chan, Managing Director and Chief Economist with Chase.